born on February 4, 1913, was a little girl. Her name was Rosa Louise Macaulay in Tuskegee, Alabama, United States. She had a calm spirit and a heart that grew bold with time. No one knew it then, but this little girl would grow up to help change the world. Rosa's parents, Leona and James Macaulay, separated when she was young. Afterward, Rosa moved with her mother and younger brother, Sylvester, to live with her grandparents on a small farm in Pine Level, Alabama. It was here that she first learned about hard work, faith, and dignity. Her grandparents were formerly enslaved people who had endured cruelty and injustice. From them, Rosa heard stories about life before freedom and the many ways that freedom still hadn't fully come. Her grandfather would often sit on the front porch at night with a shotgun across his knees, not to threaten, but to protect. The times were dangerous, and black families had to defend themselves against white supremacist groups like the Ku Klux Klan, who terrorized black communities across the South. Even as a child, Rosa understood the unfairness of the world she lived in. Rosa attended a one-room schoolhouse for black children. The building was worn down. The desks were old. The books were hand-me-downs from white schools, torn, scribbled in, and incomplete. The school lacked electricity and plumbing. Meanwhile, white children nearby had clean, bright schools with buses to take them to class. Rosa walked miles to school while the white children rode past in buses, often taunting her and throwing things out the window. She felt the sting of injustice from an early age, but she also learned the value of education and self-respect. Her mother, a teacher, taught her to believe in her worth. When Rosa was 11, she was sent to Montgomery to attend the industrial school for girls. There, she studied domestic skills like sewing and cooking, but also learned reading, writing, and arithmetic. Eventually, she enrolled in the Alabama State Teachers College for Negroes, but had to leave school early to care for her grandmother, then her mother, when they became ill. Life was not easy. Rosa cleaned houses and took tailoring jobs to help support her family, but she never lost her quiet dignity or her sense of right and wrong. In 1932, Rosa met a man named Raymond Parks, a barber and an active member of the NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. He was a bold and principled man who spoke out against racial injustice. He encouraged Rosa to finish high school, which she did, becoming one of the very few black women in her area to graduate at the time. Raymond and Rosa married, and together they began attending NAACP meetings. Rosa eventually became the secretary of the Montgomery chapter, where she worked with civil rights leaders on cases involving racial violence, discrimination, and injustice. She wasn't famous yet, but Rosa was already laying the foundation for what would become a powerful legacy. By the 1950s, Rosa was working as a seamstress in Montgomery. She rode the bus every day to and from work, along with thousands of other black residents. Buses were a daily battleground of segregation. The front rows were reserved for white passengers. Black riders had to enter through the front to pay their fare, then exit and re-enter through the back door. Sometimes the bus would drive off before they could get back on. Even in the black section, if a white person boarded and there were no seats left, the driver could demand that a black person give up their seat. Rosa had experienced this humiliation before. Years earlier, a bus driver named James Blake had thrown her off his bus for refusing to re-enter from the back door after paying. The driver would come back into her life in a fateful way. On December 1st, 1955, Rosa boarded the Cleveland Avenue bus after a long day at work. She paid her fare and sat in the middle section allowed for black riders, as long as no white passengers needed the seat. As the bus filled, a white man got on. The driver, James Blake, the same man who had thrown her off years earlier, ordered Rosa and 3 other black passengers to stand up. The others moved, but Rosa quietly refused. Blake asked her again. She said simply, "No." He threatened to call the police. Rosa remained seated. "I'm going to have you arrested," he said. "You may do that," she replied. She was arrested, booked, and fingerprinted. Her crime? Not giving up her seat to a white man. News of Rosa's arrest spread quickly through Montgomery's black community. Eddie Nixon, a local NAACP leader, bailed her out and saw an opportunity. Rosa Parks was dignified, respected, and strong. She was the perfect person to challenge the bus laws in court. Within days, a group of black leaders formed the Montgomery Improvement Association and launched a bus boycott. A young pastor named Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., just 26 years old, was chosen to lead the effort. On Monday, December 5, 1955, black residents of Montgomery refused to board the city buses. They walked to work. They rode bicycles. They organized carpool systems. Despite harassment, threats, and arrests. They stayed off the buses. The boycott lasted 381 days. Buses sat nearly empty. The city's transit system lost money. Yet the people did not give up. Rosa, meanwhile, had lost her job. Her husband had to quit his job too. They received death threats. But Rosa stood firm. "I would like to be remembered as a person who wanted to be free," she said, "so other people would be also free." In 1956, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that bus segregation was unconstitutional. On December 21st, after more than a year of walking and waiting, Rosa Parks quietly rode the bus again, this time in a seat of her own choosing. Her action had sparked a fire across the country. It led to sit-ins, freedom rides, and marches. It helped fuel the modern civil rights movement and inspired people of all backgrounds to stand up for what is right. But Rosa never sought the spotlight. She moved to Detroit and worked as a secretary for a congressman. She continued to speak out against injustice and supported youth education, voter rights, and prison reform. She was honored with awards, medals, and monuments, but she always remained humble. "I was just tired of giving in," she once said. The final journey. Rosa Parks passed away on October 24, 2005. At the age of 92, she was the first woman in U.S. history to lie in honor in the Capitol Rotunda in Washington. DXC thousands came to pay their respects. Presidents, leaders, and ordinary citizens alike honored her. But perhaps the greatest tribute to Rosa Parks isn't in a statue or a medal. It's in every person who refuses to accept injustice, in every child who learns to speak up, in every community that chooses dignity over silence. Rosa Parks showed us that one person armed only with courage and conviction can truly change the course of history. Epilogue. Rosa Parks' story is a reminder that change begins with ordinary people doing extraordinary things.